Milo, is that you?
There, I think I got it. Okay, we're going to do an intro to AML All-Star Variety Hour number 21. We're going to do it really fast. This is the second take because I forgot to turn on my microphone. The reason we're here is we're here with George Taylor, the boy wonder. We're here with Martin Jenkins, all the way from Australia, and our buddy David Start in New Jersey. Say hi, David.
Hi, David.
Say hi, Martin.
Hi, Martin.
George.
Attaboy.
Okay, so the reason we're doing this is because David Start says I'm absolutely horrible at doing the intros by myself.
You blow that out of proportion. they're strained.
Strained. I give you that. I think they're just bad. I mean, you don't have to be nice. You don't have to mince your words. I'm no good at talk when I don't have somebody to talk to. It's like I'm sitting. I don't know how people talk for, like Andy Crawford can talk for hours and hours nonstop, just hearing their own voice. I can't get that. I love the sound of my own voice, but I can't understand it when there's nobody to talk to.
Right. You need to have a conversation. You can't have a conversation with yourself.
No, because...
Meanwhile, David's sitting at his computer with a thesaurus looking for alternatives to bad.
yeah, exactly. Horrible, not very good. All right, Martin. Yeah. Martin, we're here. You're here. You're in Australia. You're working on your 187th scale, HO scale RC cars.
Yes. Yeah, we managed to get the Porsche finished, and I actually had it running on the desk here, but the battery went flat. I then decided to get the new battery charger out that I'd bought for him, plugged it all in, and then plugged the wrong power pack into the battery charger, blowing up the power pack and the battery charger.
Oh, really?
So everything's now gone on hold until I get a new battery charger, which I was going to go and have a little look for this afternoon.
All right, briefly explain to me how that's possible, because, like, how do you blow stuff up like that? Like, wouldn't you just be plugging it into the wall?
Yeah, I had a number of wall warts plugged in, and I grabbed the wrong lead, thinking that was the lead to the power supply that was supposed to go to the battery charger. But it wasn't. It was the one for something of a lot less power. And when I plugged it in and hit the charge button, it took out the wall wart and it took out the charger as well. So had too many things plugged in on the bench and too many leads to select from.
Oh, man. All right. I feel bad for you.
Well, these things happen. It's not a big expense. The charger was only $10 off Banggood from China. The only problem is I've got to wait probably 3 weeks to get another one now.
So now you can't play with the thing so how many chargers did you order?
I ordered 2 more chargers.
Attaboy.
Just in case.
And when you blow up the next one, you can order one right away and you'll still have one in reserve.
Exactly.
All right.
Wow, wise decision, Martin.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
I'm over the soldering of all the wires in there. That was a bit of a nightmare.
What are you doing? What are you doing to them?
Soldering.
You're soldering.
I'm soldering, yeah. Applying heat and lead and tin with a little bit of flux.
And
it's called soldering.
Oh, so you're soldering.
Soldering, yes. Soldering away. I don't know what the poor L... that poor L just feels so neglected in the word solder.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, yes. Thank you, Martin.
Yeah.
That's enough.
In North America, we have banished the L in the word soldering, and the Q is silent.
The Q is always silent.
Yeah. What do you work? Go ahead.
Except I noticed some of the people down south use it.
Really?
Yeah. Well, you hear them say solder.
Where in Australia?
Oh no, I'm talking about south of the US.
You're not even here. How would you know?
I come over for the interview. I had to row a boat over here. There's no planes coming to America anymore from Australia. So you rang me and said, "Can you be here for this introduction?" I've had to get into a rowboat for a week and a half, and
Okay, so what did you mean the Q? In the South, they use the Q. Come on, when you say things
it's
like
just
that.
their accent. Their accent makes it sound funny. That's all. When you hear someone like Andy Crawford say "solder," I fall over off the chair.
Oh, okay. Well, you ought to try recording yourself then. David, are you doing anything interesting?
Absolutely not.
How do you think this is going?
This is going great.
Hey, George.
So,
you're
better than usual.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what me and George are doing tomorrow, David?
What is that?
We are going to interview a guy named Serge LaBelle.
Okay.
And he is an engineer, a locomotive engineer for the Quebec North Shore and Labrador Railroad out of Septiles, Quebec, which is like way, way east on the St. Lawrence Seaway. It's out there. He is out there. He is out there in the bush.
I was going to say 10 miles east of nowhere.
Yeah, and he has a roughly 35 by 55 foot O-scale layout that's absolutely magnificent. If anybody wants to see this guy's Facebook page before we get there, it is don't tell me, let me guess. I've lost that page. I'm going to do it.
Letting you guess.
I ciphered it.
I can do it. I can do it. No, I know. I think I can do it. There it is. I got it already. Look at that. Look at how fast I did it.
Good job.
Yeah. It's called the O-Scale CN Sandmore Subdivision. Go to that page, O-Scale CN Sandmore Subdivision. It's Serge LaBelle's Facebook page for his O-Scale layout, and the photos are absolutely spectacular. You will not be disappointed, and he needs more likes on his page. So let's see if we can get those likes up to, like, he's got 59. Let's get him up to like 150 before his interview comes up in a couple of years. I bet you it'll be. We're getting backed up again. I bet you it'll be 3-4 months, anyways. All right, and so that's what me and George are doing. So the reason we're here, okay, look how long we've talked, David. We've talked. Let me find the. Boy, this is really disorganized tonight. I am just 7 minutes and 28 seconds.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're introducing. Remember Brooks Willig?
Yep.
We did What's Happening, or we did an interview. I think I just did a brief, like a 50-minute interview with him. So he's going to be on first, telling us all about it, what he's been up to. And then we're going to hear William Simpson, and that was a What's Happening thing when we were doing those What's Happening things. So then we're going to hear William Simpson from Minneapolis, Minnesota. So Brooks is in San Angelo, Texas. Which one do you think will be your favorite, David?
Let's go with Brooks Willig.
Okay. George?
I'm looking forward to hearing from William for sure.
All right. Martin?
I'm looking forward to hear from Brooks.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to hearing from William. So it's a 2-2 split.
It's a tie.
Yep.
It's a tie. So let's leave it there. Hey, does anybody know what you're supposed to do next? David, do you know what comes next?
Absolutely.
All right. Go ahead and do it.
Subway chime, go.
So what are we going to be recording?
I don't know, but I've already turned the button on, so.
Okay.
What we'll be recording is me talking to you.
Okay, that sounds good.
Or you talking to me.
Well, hopefully I'll be talking to you too.
Yeah, and everybody already knows who I am, but they're probably not familiar with your voice. Although you've been on, how many times have you been on the show? Once or twice?
Just once.
Okay. Well, I'm talking right this minute. I'm talking with Brooks Willig. It is Willig, right?
Yes.
Because I'm always worried that every time I say your name, I'm always thinking, am I saying that right?
Yes, it is Brooks.
That's such an old joke, but it works so well every time. That joke you can get so much mileage out of.
Yeah.
That and the rim shot. All right, so we're talking with Brooks Willig, and you live in San Angelo, Texas.
Yeah.
I got that room. I remembered that much.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk to you because when we were talking to, actually, while we're the night before we're recording this, tomorrow is this probably won't be broadcast for a month or so, but tomorrow we're doing the Prairie Rail 2020 report with Ron Marsh and Chris Atkins.
Nice.
And while we're talking, I started saying to Chris, "Oh yeah, Brooks was there," and he's going, "Yeah, Brooks came and all that." And I thought to myself, "Geez, I got to talk to you about that and everything else that's been going on in your life in the world of model railroading."
Yeah, I've got a lot to talk about now.
Do you?
Yeah, I feel like I do.
All right. Do you have a Facebook page?
I do. I have my personal page, and then I have one called Hobby Time Workshop.
All right. Which page is the I should probably look at Hobby Time Workshop.
Yeah, that's where I've been posting all my hobby related pictures. So
All
I've
right.
got pictures from the prairie rails up there and
Oh, do you?
other op sessions that I've been to.
Yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is you've been going, I think ever since you got on the podcast, you've been connected with a lot of people, eh?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
It's been great.
so look at that. You get to you met a Canadian, and because you got on a Canadian's podcast, it's improved your hobby life. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I would say so.
I'm so proud of myself.
I've met so many people, probably in connection with the podcast and without, but that's how Speed, Gert Muller, Speed, which he shall go by Speed. So he's really been a mentor to me with the operating sessions, and he's been the one instrumental in getting me into operating. And it's opened up a whole new world of model railroading than I've ever thought was possible.
I know, eh? Like hats off to Speed for doing that.
Yeah.
Like that's what got me all excited when I was when we were talking to Chris and Ron about Prairie Rail, and then we were going through the pictures, and then suddenly dawned on me you were there and you're wearing your model your AML shirt, and I'm thinking, way to go, Speed. And how did you get into Prairie Rail? Like, was it Chris said he thought it was probably you were filling in for somebody.
Yeah, it was pure luck. I never thought, I've always heard y'all talk about it on the podcast that it's and it's invitation only. And I thought, I'll probably never get into there, but that would be really cool to. And all of a sudden he emailed me. He's like, "Hey, we had some people cancel, and so they're giving us some more slots. You want to go?" And I said, "Yeah."
And so how much lead time did he give you?
About a week. But it was one of those that happened at the right time. I didn't have I had one small little event going on, but I was able to have somebody cover that. And so I was able to go, and it's really, to me, an opportunity of the lifetime to be able to go to that up there. There's so many layouts that are famous layouts and been published. And in Model Railroader, the Train Masters TV, and
RMC.
Yeah. There were some of those too. So I call it, I hit the big leagues on that.
So, all right. So let's remind everybody what you do for a living.
I have a sound and lighting company. I also call AV rental company. Do a lot of audio visual for corporate events and concerts.
Yeah. And how's that going?
Well, right now it's not going well, but
yeah, I guess
unspeakable things going on. No, but this year's it was slow, but February was okay. In September of last year, 2019, we purchased a line array speaker system, and in hopes to get more business because everybody is buying one now, and that's what they want. And so April and May were going to be very good for us, and we had some big events on the books for that, and then the bottom dropped out with the current events that are happening. So
right,
don't know if I should mention that.
Yeah, well, we'll try not to. We'll try to keep it cheerful, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. So okay, and what kind of sound system did you say you bought?
It's called a line array, or the type of speakers is a line array system. So the speakers, instead of they hook together in a line, and they're very powerful, very high efficiency. They are smaller, lower weight, so it's just a better business move.
Right. And
for
what's your company called again?
It's called Western Audio Works.
That's right. And you have a big website and everything for that.
Yeah, we updated that back in last quarter last year. I forget which month, but
so okay. So what are some of the things you said you had all kinds of things to talk about? I know what I want to ask you, but what are some of the things you wanted to talk about?
Well, other than operations, that'll be that's a big subject. So just to hit on some of the things I've been doing, I've got some Freemo modules. They're kind of Minimo modules. I've started laying track on those, and my plan is to build just some staging yard ends that I can connect to. When I build other Freemo modules, I can just hook these onto the end and be able to run trains in and out.
Okay.
On them just to test them out. So
yeah, because
I'm excited.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I cut you off. I'm lousy at that. I am like lousy at that. I'm
I
like
do
like the last guy that should have a podcast. I got to tell you what I found out today. I am like seriously dumber than a stick of butter. I mean, seriously. So I upgraded my when I got some new audio software, it wasn't working as well as I wanted it to. So I upgraded the operating system on my MacBook Pro. I have the guy beside my office has a little Apple repair shop, an authorized Apple repair shop, which is very, very cool. And him and I are become friends. So anyways, we upgraded the operating system on my MacBook Pro. And then 3-4 years ago, he sold me an iMac that a guy was kind of one of these guys that everything, something new comes out, he has to get the newest thing. So this was like a year old, and he sold it to me for like $800, a beautiful iMac with a 27-inch screen. And so I hadn't done much with that, and so I had to upgrade the operating system for that. So all of a sudden, after I upgraded the operating system, it worked for a couple of days. The input mic, the internal mic, it worked for a couple of days, and then it stopped working. All it was really muffled, and I could barely hear myself. And I'm thinking, this is something I've done to it. My external mic, my mic for the podcast would work in it. Everything would work except the internal microphone wouldn't work. And I don't know if the latest Toy Story movie, it has a character.
Yeah.
It has, I forget, what was it called, the latest Toy Story movie? Do you know?
Toy Story 4?
Probably. Good name, seeing as how there was 3 prior to it.
Right.
That was the 4th one. Boy, they don't. The brains that there is at Pixar are brilliant. So after in Toy Story 4, there was a character known as Duke Kaboom, who was a Canadian daredevil. And I thought, I got to have a Duke Kaboom. So I got a little tiny Duke Kaboom for the top of my iMac that he could stand on the top of my iMac. And I got some double-sided tape. And just so when I brought my iMac back from being rebooted, I thought, well, I'll just put him right back on top of the computer just like he was before. And turns out I took it. So finally I couldn't get my internal mic going. I couldn't get it working. It was still muffled and I could barely hear myself. So I take it in and I say, it's like really muffled and everything. And I knew it would take Bill like less than a minute to fix it. It felt like it would only take him a few minutes at best. So he says, it's really muffled. And I said, yeah. So he looks in the top of the computer and he says, well, you got tape over the mic.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah. So you know what I said to him? I knew that.
So he had to charge you probably, full tech rate for it.
Yeah.
And then you're probably like, well, you just told me it was tapes. Like, yeah, but that was $5 to tell you where to take the tape off, but $100 to know what the problem was.
That's the beauty of this friendship is he doesn't charge me. He hasn't charged me in years. So I go out every once in a while and I buy him like a restaurant gift card or a grocery store gift card, because if I didn't, he'd never charge me. So it's like I have access to an authorized Apple guy, and I don't have to. It's beautiful. I have the best setup going.
Yeah,
So,
that's cool.
Anyway, so that's what I managed to do. I screwed up
Cool.
my. So what was it? How did I get talking about that?
I have no idea.
Oh yeah, when you're talking about the line erase of speakers.
No.
So yeah, so tell me how you started operating then. It's like what was the first layout you operated on?
Well, that was Lloyd Kaiser's Chicago and Northwestern layout up in Dallas, and through Speed. So I think January last year when they did the Plano train show, Speed messaged me, and we've been talking a little bit, just chatting back and forth, and I said, yeah, I'm coming up there, and then he called me, and like, I don't know, a day or two later, was like, hey, you want to go to an operating session? I said, yeah, that'd be cool. I haven't done that, but I want to try that because there's no layouts around in my area to do that at. So I went, and he showed me the ropes on it, and then I went to let's see, I think maybe two other layouts that weekend. I know I did one. I can't remember on that. So
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, and of course I met Speed. I've been to one of his clinics before, so I knew who he was. But we hadn't really talked much because it was at a Plano train show at one time, and then I was the September, the fall show right before that January show. I was around there just visiting, shooting video, and then I put it up on my YouTube channel. And he said he watched it, and he's like, I know the legs of that person right there. And then that's when he sent me a friend request, and we started talking. So.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
he reached out to you, and you guys became friends.
Yeah.
And then he got you involved in operating.
Yeah.
Like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
That is really. Go ahead.
Doing the operating sessions, it's really, there for a long time I've been trying to design a layout, and now that I've been to some, I understand a lot better how the track work works and how you need to lay a yard out and what works and what doesn't work. And the one thing that I have learned the most is bulletproof track work is 100% like the most important thing that you need if you're going to do op sessions. It's got to be bulletproof and reliable. I've been to a few that the train would derail, and it was very frustrating because it just, you're trying to get the job done, but it keeps derailing in this one spot, and then you got to stop and pick the train and put it back up. Or there would be spots where you couldn't reach, and there was one layout I had to crawl on top of the layout 5 or 6 times during the session to get the train would always derail right in the back corner.
Wow.
Back there, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a big thing that people need to. That is a good lesson to pass along. Is once you get a chance to operate, it changes your whole perspective on what you're going to do as far as design of a layout, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. It gives the layout a purpose. I mean, it's great to watch the trains run around, but I think it adds a whole much more, avenue of fun to it. Being in a puzzle game too. There's a few sessions when I first started. It was really kind of new to me and learning car cards and waybills, and then sometimes I'm like, I just want to run a train around the layout for fun. But the more I did, I said, if I really want to learn this, I really just got to jump in and do it. And a lot of times I sign up to do the yards right now, and I'm working on my through Speed. Speed pushed me into doing the AP certificate for dispatcher, so I'm started working on that. And I've been wanting to do the AP program. And I know when I read Dispatcher, when I was looking through it all, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this one because there's no layouts around my area. But, through thanks to him, I'm actually, what I'm starting on. So I've got enough hours in so far. The thing I lack is 10 hours dispatching layout. And I think, through advice from him, A lot of the layouts I've been to, I've only been to them once, and the first time I've been to them, there's one layout, and then Lloyd's layout, the one I went on. I've been to that a couple times, and another gentleman in Dallas. That's Dave. Sorry, I don't have the sheet in front of me here.
All right. Dave. His name's Dave.
Yeah, he's got a Potomac Valley Lines is his name of his layout.
Okay.
David Dinsmore. That's it.
All right.
But he's just started building his, and he's got all the track work. The first time I was there, he's modeling the B&O, Pennsylvania, and Western Maryland. And the B&O yard, Cumbo yard, was not completed yet at all. Just had the main lines running through it. And but it doesn't have any scenery on it, but the track work is really good on it, and it's in his garage, and I don't know, I've really come to like running on it. And Lloyd Kaiser's layouts too, those two I've been to the most, so I do like those the most. But I first time I did a yard on David's layout and ran the Cumbo yard during the DFW interchange, and it worked out really good.
Well, you mustn't be too much of a screw up if you keep getting invited back to these layouts.
Yeah, I guess so.
But that's the key. You got to really enjoy it too, the operations and all that. Yeah,
and that's something that's new. When I first started, especially when I was doing a yard, I was doing it on Art Cunningham's layout, and he's doing a San Francisco area, and he had I don't remember much about it. Sorry, like I can remember all this, but then when I'm put on the spot to remember, I can't remember it. Anyway, that was the first one I signed up to run the yard on, and I was that one. Most of the time when you're switching cars out or running a yard, they usually like to switch in blocks. But that one, the way that the trains would come out and they would go out to a town, and it was pretty much all yard limits. So they go out to town and come back, and they were all, nobody'd sort them out. They just assemble the train and bring it. So it was every other car I had to switch to some track. And so I was just like busy, like back and forth, switching the cars out. And at one time I had 3 trains coming in. I had no tracks that I could put them on. And I was like, I got too much, it's all clogged. And so it was fun, but it was stressful. And I think that was just the running the yards to me starting out, especially not knowing the layout, it feels stressful. But, I think after a while, a lot of these places have regular crews that they operate at, regularly. So the layout, and then I think it becomes real fun.
Yeah.
I like going to these just to, see new layouts all the time too. That's I think that's a lot of and just meet all the people.
Well, yeah, and you've hooked up with the right 2 guys there with Chris Atkins and Chris Atkins, of course, is from Argyle, Texas, home of the Fighting Sox. You've hooked up with the right 2 guys. Those 2 guys, Speed and Chris, because man, those guys are always operating.
Oh yeah.
And so, how many layouts total do you think you've operated on now? How many layout operating sessions have you been to? How about that, roughly?
Let me think here. Probably about 20 now.
Really?
Yeah.
That is so rewarding for me to know that because of the podcast, you've gotten to do that. Way to go, Speed! Speed, you're awesome, buddy. Way to go! Yeah. Way to go! Way to make the hobby grow, buddy.
Yeah.
What a guy. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's just so cool. So what were you gonna say? I got nothing.
Well, one of the layouts, I went to Greg McComb's layout, or McComas, I think that's his name. He's doing the Michigan Interstate, and it's a freelance layout. But I actually just recently found that he was published in Cowcatcher magazine, And so I bought the back issue and read that, and that was pretty fun. I got to that was during the LSR convention, I think, the Lone Star Region NMRA convention back in June, and that layout was there was a few like real life railroaders. Greg works for the BNSF as a clearance or clearance inspector, I think is what. And then there was Michael Tinneman was there, and then I forgot the other two guys' name, but they were from Louisiana, and they worked for the UP. And so they, when I go and talk to people about audio, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, but when they were all there, they were talking railroading, and I was like, okay, I can see what people feel like when I talk about audio now.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting listening to all their stories that they had about,
Oh, for sure.
events that happened on the railroad. So I think that's the other enjoyable part of doing the op sessions is being able to talk to these people, and meet people. And during the DFW interchange, I posted a picture on my Facebook page, but I met a guy from Australia, and also met a name that guy was John Ballantyne, and
Right.
he was up here he was up here visiting, I think, his daughter in Washington area, Oregon area, and then came down and met some of the model railroaders that are in the Houston area at another op session or train show in Colorado at one time. And so I guess he was up here on vacation and met up with them and came and did the interchange that weekend. And at these op sessions, they usually have a group that meets at the hotel, or usually a lot of people at the Prairie Rails. We were all at a hotel and we met from there. And then some people, because they flew in, or I rode with, we just all rode up in a car, four guys in a car,
Right.
going up there. And so I didn't have any transportation, so I had to bum rides off of people, but we all meet at the hotel. There's a coordinator there. It's like, who do you have? Who needs a ride? And then who can carry who? And then he goes, okay, you three go with them. And then we'll all drive out to the layout and then all come back to the hotel. So anyway, so I offered rides at the DFW interchange to these two fellows, and the layout was over. It was about an hour away. Some of these layouts are pretty far out from the hotel.
Right.
And so we had to leave out at, I think our op session started at 9, but we needed to leave out at like 7:30 or 7:45 to get there in time. And but it was cool talking along the way. I got to talk to John about his modeling interests, and he's modeling the Santa Fe, the Grand Canyon area with the Santa Fe. And then another gentleman, David Peterson, he actually builds modules. He has Masterpiece modules.
Oh, yeah?
And he's in Austin, Texas, and he actually builds those CNC Fremo. I can't remember the tabletop modular group.
Not
I think
free.
it was like,
You mean free?
no, I think it was the TT modules or something like that.
Okay. I found
Can't
it
think
here.
of the name of them right now.
I found it here on Google. Masterpiece modules, N-track, N-scale T-track.
Yeah, that's it. T-Track. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And he builds those
Yeah.
squares.
Yeah, so we were talking about that. Because I'm interested in building Fremo and stuff. So that was very interesting being with them too. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. So he builds these T-track modules. Yeah. I don't fully understand them. I still don't fully understand them, but I don't understand what the advantage of them is, as opposed to just And it's all that N scale stuff.
Yeah.
There you go. And they're even Okay, so yeah, you end up talking to him. We should interview him on the podcast. But that's the problem with this darn podcast. It's a huge mistake because it turns out there's millions of people. I'm telling you, this hobby is growing like crazy because of social media.
It's good to have the entertainment.
I was talking to Chris Adams, and he was saying that model railroaders have been self-isolating for decades. So we're the ones that are coming out into the world. Okay, so all right. So you've been operating on all these cool layouts, and what have you? I'm scrolling through your page, and I see this thing about the your 3D printer. What's happening with that?
Oh yeah. Well, I bought a 3D printer. I think a year or two ago. Yeah. 2018. I bought one with some birthday money, and that one's kind of had a off and on. I'd get it working, and then I never really got anywhere, and something would break on it. And the last time I was going to print a whole bunch of parts, well, the print bed actually broke on it when I was trying to level it. It was a glass bed, and then I had to wait 3 months for a new one to come from China. Put it on. As I was putting it on, it broke too.
Holy mackerel.
So I actually, instead of waiting for another 3 months, I got some aluminum channel and sort of rigged it. It broke in a spot where I could still use it, so I braced that part on there. And then so I printed a few things with it, and I found that it wasn't printing. I had some parts that it wasn't really fairly cheap, because there's some cheaper ones, but I've had to replace a lot of parts on it. And the last time I was trying to print something, I had a full build plate full of stuff, and it was going to be like a 20-hour print. And I came back the next morning, and there was nothing on the build plate, and it was all crammed up into the nozzle.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah, it was a big mess. I had to heat it up and just like dig it out of the plastic in there. So, after that, come birthday time, my birthday's in October, so my grandma and aunt, they tend to give me money for birthday gifts, and so I'm able to use that and can buy big purchases in the hobby shop with it. So I got a Prusa i3 Mark III. Or MK3S or something. They got this whole number naming system deal. And I also bought with it it was a kit, and I had to actually put it together. But they had very good instructions, and I've heard very good reviews on it. And then I've got they call it a multi-material unit, or it's an MMU2S is the code for it. But the multi-material unit, on a normal printer, you just have filament going into the print head. And this one actually has a selector, so I can have 5 filaments loaded, and mainly I can print multicolored prints. So the pictures that are on my my Facebook page there of it, I was actually printing different spool holders that will, when it retracts the filament back into the selector unit, if you don't take up the filament that comes back, it could wind up getting loose on there, and then it winds up crossing over each other, and you need to just try to keep the filament taut coming back in. And they have this big like buffer system that the filament goes into and makes a loop, and it just took up a lot of room. So I found these gravity ones that when you pull on it, the reel goes up the little ramp. It's got some gears on it.
Yeah.
And then when it retracts, the spool comes rolling back down, and it winds the filament back onto the spool. So I wound up, that was 2 weeks ago when I was printing all that. And it took me a week solid of printing. Like, I would start the print, go to bed, come back, and before I go into the office, come back and start another print. So,
so what have you printed? Like, what kind of things have you printed? Just
mainly just been printing that. I did start printing since I got it done. I've started printing some organizer boxes for my hobby bench.
You got the most fabulous hobby bench on the planet, I think.
Go ahead.
I was
Sorry.
just gonna say, man, you're gonna put a hard part to shame with this puppy.
Well, I think after not having one for years, I found it very difficult to actually work on something. And so now that I've got this workshop, one of my things is just getting everything organized and dialed in. And I feel like if I do that, then when I actually get time to work on stuff, I can actually get things done. But it's been, 2 years actually. It seems like all I do is I get something in a way I like it, and then I think of a different way I want to do it. So
Right.
the desk that I'm on right now, I'm working on, it was my painting bench, and then I've moved my paint booth over to the hobby bench, and all my paint's over there. And now I'm thinking about building a different drawers to store the paints better, because they don't, it's like they just don't. It's a lot of space that it's unused in there. So.
You're never going to get anything built if you don't stop working on your workbench.
Yeah, that's what I feel like.
Except in the meantime, you've learned all this operating stuff. So didn't you want to start a modular group near where you live? Didn't you?
Yeah, I'm still wanting to do that, and that's part of. These little mini mows are my first step, and then I think after I get these done, I've got designs for a big staging yard, and it's different from a real yard because it's just got stub-ended tracks, and I don't really have any facilities in there for just switching. It's just to store trains, and I feel like that would be a good, important starting step to have somewhere I could originate trains from.
Right.
But I feel like it'd be nice for me just to build a few modules first, and then once I do that, then I can get, find some people that are interested in doing it.
Yeah, and I was going to ask. Oh, this is all in HO, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And what are you modeling? Are you still modeling Norfolk Southern?
Yeah, I'm interested in that. I'm really interested in a lot, but Norfolk Southern mainly. And a lot of these other layouts that I've been to, like Lloyd does the Chicago Northwestern, and let's see, what was some of the others? I was one of the biggest ones I went to is Michael Borkin's UP Wyoming 3rd subdivision layout. It's in the basement of his house, and it's huge. I don't remember how many square feet, but I know the yard, they had 5 operators on that yard.
Holy mackerel.
And it was all in the 50s era, or the transition era, so they had they were still running big boys and turbines and diesel. So I see a lot of these people modeling some of the earlier eras instead of the modern era, and I think there's kind of a romance about that, and that's the era they grew up in. They know that, and I'm very interested in steam locos, and some of the earlier diesel locomotives are very fascinating also.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the first generation diesels, and not really because that's the era I grew up in, because I don't really remember them that much from back then. So I mean, it's just a cool time. The locomotives had way much more character back then, I think.
Yeah, I could say that. I mean. The new ones look cool, but it's now they're coming out with these ET44s and different ones, and I know there's some different characteristics, but I haven't studied them enough to really know. And a lot of them just look very boxy, which isn't a bad thing, I think one of the reasons I'm interested in doing Norfolk Southern is it's a modern time, and I watched them, followed them a lot on YouTube. I think a lot of the new stuff they're coming out with is really cool, and that's I like the logos and the paint schemes on their locomotives, even though they're all black. So,
now what's the main railroad in Texas?
The one that's coming through our town is Texas Pacifico, which is a subsidiary of Ferromex, I think.
Right,
if I remember correctly.
Texas Pacific. I never heard of that one.
So
it's short line, some sort of short line, or
yeah, it's a short line. It runs from I think from Fort Worth to I know it runs down to a place called Presidio.
You know what the problem with this podcast, right? This interview right now
What's that?
is that Chris Atkins and Speed are going. He means this. He means that. He means the next thing. They're just screaming.
Yeah.
They're screaming at the.
Yeah.
They're screaming at the
Mm.
at the radio or wherever they're listening to it.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm the same way when I'm listening to it.
Are you? What's your favorite part of the podcast?
Hearing the soothing sounds of Lionel and the gang.
Yeah. I'm gonna look at the route map of the Pacific in Texaco.
Actually, I heard the Hug It Out episode in the bidet was pretty interesting.
Yeah, everybody's excited about the bidet and the.
I actually have one of those.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, it's nice.
I've never used a bidet, and I'm not sure I ever will, but maybe I will someday. I don't strike myself as as necessarily a bidet kind of guy.
It'll leave you squeaky clean.
There you go. The Texas and Pacifico is huge.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I don't know what the rail line was abandoned about, actually 10 years ago. There really wasn't any rail traffic on it. And it's picked up quite a bit, mainly with the oil field. And of course, the oil field is going down. And I saw a video the other day, I think I posted on the fans page, that they're hauling they were hauling windmill blades through here on it recently, so I was very surprised.
Yeah, it runs from Fort Worth all the way down through Dublin and down to San Angelo and then on to the border with Mexico. And that's got to be, how far would it be from Fort Worth to the border of Mexico? Down there at Presidio.
Yeah, that'd be very far. I actually did a show down there. It was a band played for a wedding down at the Cibolo Ranch down there, and it was, I think, about a 4-hour drive from San Angelo.
Okay.
And Fort Worth is about a 3-hour drive, so you're looking at like 8 hours.
Yeah, that'd be a haul. That'd be a haul. So your business. Let's get back to it. So basically, you're the guy that provides the sound for concerts and anything like that involved. Like you even did one there that involved former President, First Lady Laura Bush.
Yeah, that's she actually, there's a foundation that's called the Laura Bush Institute for Women's Health.
Right.
And they formed that from Lady Marjorie Jenkins. Sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I got tripped up again.
I'll be
I'm
sorry
thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm looking at the San Angelo station, so it's kind of it's a pretty fancy station. Is it still alive? Like, do they use it for anything?
It's a museum right now.
Yeah,
and it's there's a new owner. I think the last time we talked that the city was going through a lease agreement with the current managers, and then they couldn't reach an agreement, so the lease expired, and then I think they finally reformed, and they're open again and operating. So
okay, I think it's 547 miles from Fort Worth to the Mexican border. I found a mileage chart on the Pacifico's page.
Okay. That seems about right.
Yeah, so that's a haul.
Yeah,
6 hours. For some of us. Okay, so is there anything else you wanted to talk about that we didn't talk about?
Man,
we talked about your cool workbench. We talked about your modules that you're building. We talked about all your operating sessions, which is very cool that you're doing that. Way to go, Speed. Way to go, Speed and Chris. Way to go, you guys.
one thing. No, sorry, keep going.
No, I got nothing.
I got now.
I got nothing. You thought of something?
Well, I thought of something with the current, the virus that's going on right now. They're all asking us to distance everything, and I was thinking about Gordy's idea for the virtual region the other day, and I really think now's seems like a very opportune time to actually put it in. See if we can get it going.
Gordy Robinson's idea of a virtual region is the best idea, the best utilization of today's modern technology.
Yeah.
Gordy Robinson, who lives on, I forget what it's called now. It starts with an O. Some islands. Orkneys. The Orkneys. Yeah, and he's moved there too. His house is finished.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's not in the Firth of Fife anymore.
No, not in the Firth of Fife, which was basically, where was it? Glasgow or someplace, I don't know. There's too many. I've talked to too many people and logged too many hours on this thing. I'm like a dusty old airline pilot now. I've logged like 14,000. I actually think we've done about 700 hours of podcasting now.
Oh wow,
which is very cool. And you know what I screwed up? You were going to send me some cords for my.
Oh yeah.
And that would actually, I was thinking when last time I was at Springfield, that actually would become in handy if you sent me like an orange one and a blue one.
Okay. What lengths do you need?
I need a 4-foot one, and the orange one, the red one needs a red one that's 4 feet long, and then any other color, blue, that is 6 feet long. That's what I need.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And
just send me a mailing address and I'll work on them
with the XLR ends on them.
Yeah, and I personally customize them too. So
yeah, well that's beautiful.
Have your name.
Really? Oh, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
So they'd have like a modeler's life on them.
Yeah, I can put that on there.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. How cool would I look then? I interviewed Jason Schron the other day with my Zoom recorder and my 2 high-end Shure mics, and then I got this new editing software, and the sound was like, oh my God, it was unbelievable. I was telling Chris Adams, it was like having an orgasm. It must be exciting for you to get spectacular sound, eh?
I like it.
Yeah, like the better, as you learned more and more about it, it must, because up until you start learning about sound, it just is sound. But then when you start paying attention and it gets better and better, you're just like, man, when you get really good sound, you're really excited. And here it is, and I learned that from model railroading. That's because of model railroading. Crazy.
It's an all-inclusive hobby.
It is an all-inclusive hobby. It's a crazy hobby. Is it growing, do you think?
I don't know. I would say I'd say it has the potential to grow. I think it's really hard to really get a grasp on how big it is, because I've met a lot of people through it, and I think the internet is the future of model railroading and expanding it. And that's every time I turn around, I mean, there's a lot of people. Like I actually was doing a musical back in February in Lubbock, and the one of the special the guys that does the props on the show, we were just after the show, we all, the crew, like we went to Chili's or afterwards, and so there was one of the guys that was playing Sebastian the Crab. He started building about, I don't know, a couple months ago. He told me that he got a Titanic ship model of the Titanic, because we did Titanic about 4 years ago. So he saw that in the stores, like, that'd be cool to build that. So and then I keep pestering him about building it, because I'm also into doing plastic modeling and everything. And so, and then I guess he finally had enough of me asking about it. He's like, hey, you should talk to so-and-so down here. He's into trains and all that kind of stuff too. So then he and I, like, this was after we were sitting there for like 40 minutes. And then after that, half the table left, and then we started talking trains across from each other. That lasted for about 10 minutes, and then all the women are like, it's getting late, we need to go.
Yeah, that would be boring.
So then the rest of the run, we kept, every time we bump into each other in the hallway, we'd talk about stuff. And he's actually interested in doing Z gauge, and he sent me a video that a couple days ago of him working on a Z gauge train, and I was like, that's tiny.
Yeah, I can't get excited about Z gauge. I'm sorry. I apologize to anybody that is excited about it, but I think it's just too small for me. Very,
It's
very hard.
definitely lost.
Yeah, it's definitely lost in the hobby.
You need a magnifying glass to find it.
I'm not sure I fully understand the point of it, but I'm sure somebody could explain it to me.
Yeah.
I'll probably have offended somebody by now already.
Yeah.
Anything else we need to say, or we got her covered?
Well, I think that's it for now. We probably ought to keep it short for this one.
Yeah, and we'll talk some more.
There'll be some more stuff soon.
Absolutely. There's always now that you're an operating guru, that you're out there with those guys mixing it up on the operations. We're always wanting to hear about that.
Yeah.
Did you go to?
Sorry. Go ahead.
Or did you go to the banquet at Prairie Rail?
No, I didn't. I skipped that one mainly just because of the price of they were wanting like $40 for the meal, and
right.
I thought I had a lot more fun actually going and hanging out with Speed, and then Lloyd Kaiser went with us, and then a guy named Tom Santillo, I think. Okay. Sorry, I can't remember his last name.
Well, why not?
But I don't know. It's I have a memory block sometimes.
Tell me about
computing running out of processing power here.
Yeah. Tell me about Leo and Lori Paletti's layout.
Oh man, it's awesome. I have yet to operate there, but I stopped by there on the way home after the LSR convention. They were doing an open house, and everybody has been talking about how detailed it is, and it's really a showpiece layout, and they have been starting to do some operating sessions on it, but it's amazing. It's I haven't been to George Celios layout up there, but I think that in 5-10 years, or they keep on it, it's going to turn into that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, it's that spectacular, eh?
Yeah, I was amazed.
And is it like a 20 by 20 kind of thing, or?
Yeah, I think the building's probably 20 by 30, and they do have a mushroom design on it. The upper part they're still working on, and then it's got HO and narrow gauge in there, so it's a dual gauge. They've got some dual gauge trackage going through there.
So it's in a building by itself.
Yeah, it's in a whole different building by itself.
Our very own Tom Jacobs has a 20 by 36 foot building.
Yeah.
I got that right. I know I got that right.
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah.
Yeah, it is. I think it is right for a change. Okay. I think we got her all covered, buddy.
Cool.
It's 51 minutes.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you letting me be on again.
I appreciate you being. I appreciate your support of the podcast. How cool is that?
Yeah.
And you listen. Do you listen to them pretty much when they come out?
No. I've actually I was getting pretty low on them, so I quit listening for a little bit because all my other ones have been piling up. So I also like listening to Tom Bartlett's Model Rail Radio, and then HO Scale Customs. I like listening to that one.
Okay.
So this 3, those are like my main 3, and then of course the Model Railcast show when it comes out.
Right. Exactly.
And so those are my 3 there, and I had quite a bit pile up on those others. So now I've got a good I guess queue built up for the Modeler's Life. So
okay, so
I'll be listening to that for a while.
Yeah. So the ones you mentioned there, do you have a particular favorite?
Modeler's Life, of course.
There you go.
The Patreon feed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The Patreon feed. Let's not forget that. I'm always told that I don't push that enough, but I should, because there's a whole pile of really good stuff on there. Yeah,
I was going through, and I had to reduce my level temporarily through this period, but I trying to cut expenses. I really wanted to just drop it, but I was like, no, I'm going to lose the access to those, so I'm going to keep it at the lower level for a couple months.
Yeah, until you get back on your feet. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, keep us informed, and keep posting to the page, because it's fun seeing your posts.
Oh yeah, I will.
All right. Say goodbye.
I'll probably be having a lot more to do right now. So, but now that I've got the modules going, I'm got some stuff to work on, so keeps me wanting to work on it.
You know what you got to say now, don't you?
Subway chime go?
Yeah. But only say it with some gusto.
Oh, okay. All right. Subway chime go.
All right, I hit the button.
You hit the button.
Yeah, because this is what's happening. It's unedited.
And unedited, what's happening? Holy cow.
They're all the what's happenings are unedited. That's how we get them out. If we had to edit them, then it'd be a whole different story.
It'd be what's edited, the replay edition.
No, let's see. Today I was walking around the block listening to Virtual Hobby Shop number 26. And what have I got so far? Let's see. 23 minutes and 30 seconds. I got to play Making My Way Back to You, Babe.
Okay.
33 minutes, there's technical difficulties. 43 minutes and 30 seconds, I was talking about how fast I rode on my motorcycle, and I thought that was inappropriate. 46 minutes and 30 seconds, we need a rim shot.
Oh, yes.
58 minutes, you were really sick on this one, and you were coughing your guts out.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, that was the one I bailed out early on, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's what an edited one is.
Okay.
These are unedited.
That's the one I sounded like Barry White when it started, right?
Barry White, exactly. So these are unedited. So I don't listen to them myself. I just when we're done, I hit stop. I add the front and the back and a commercial, and then I make a picture and I write up a little thing, which takes me all of about an hour and a half to get it all ready, and then boom, it's out there. If I stopped and had to listen to it and edited it and add drum rolls and rim shots and took out coughing, it would take much longer, which is how we managed to get all these out here.
Beautiful.
So now we're talking to William Simpson all the way from Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Whereabouts, William?
Yeah, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Actually, it's technically Maple Grove, but within 20 minutes of Minneapolis.
Okay, yeah.
You're on the west side of the Twin Cities, right? Yeah.
Yep, you got it, northwest.
Yeah, northwest, yep.
And William is a huge fan of the show. He's a big Patreon member. He's excited about when we get to 200 Patreon members. He's going to be, he is the AML official graphic designer.
And honored to be.
Yes, and honored to be, yeah. And so okay, so we're actually recording this on April, anybody want to take a guess? 9th?
April 9th, 2020.
April 9th, 2020. We all know what's going on. So, William, how are you guys making out?
Actually doing fairly well. For myself, I jokingly always refer to, I've been in isolation since 2010, and that's only been because I've started working for myself and having that opportunity to do so. You know, I don't have a whole lot of interaction with face-to-face people, but on a regular basis, I think just from your everyday ongoings, and you guys might experience it as well, you don't get the chance to just go out, chit-chat, go to the flea markets, and, hang out with guys talking about trains. So this is actually a good application to be able to do so.
It is, isn't it? This whole podcasting thing is working out way better than anybody thought, I think.
Well, you stumbled into a nice gem, because I feel like so often with your podcasts, and that's one of the things I liked about joining the Patreon side of things, was getting more content, because I actually gone through all the previous episodes, and once I hit the end, I thought, well, now I got to wait, until a new one comes up, and in the Patreon side of things, you can just start buzzing through them again. And I listen to it a lot of times when I'm either working on projects, whether it be modeling or out in the garage. And it's just kind of fun to have that camaraderie and hear some of the humor that you guys bring to the table.
I know, it's kind of fun. Like, when I'm editing them, I'm either walking around the block or I'm working out in the garage or, like you say, downstairs or doing something. Even yesterday, I was finishing up one and I was getting my grapefruit ready for the week. I mean, there's always, it feels like you're right there with everybody when you're talking. It's camaraderie is what it does. I was talking yesterday to Neil Erickson in Hawaii, in Hilo, Hawaii, on the Big Island, and he was saying, like, for him, the social media and the internet has completely changed the hobby for him. It makes him feel like he's part of a huge community now.
Well, I can see where he's coming from on it, because I had the opportunity. I've been talking with Tom Klomoski, who I was introduced through YouTube with the videos that he had done. But when I heard you guys' interview with him, you got to know him a little bit better. You got to know him a little bit more on the personal side of things. And we've actually kind of connected through the prototype side of the modeling. And some guys, they like the prototype and some people don't. But Tom was such a great source in helping me out trying to get my track plan refined, trying to look at more research. And he connected me with this guy, Barry, that had a whole ton of research on the Hiawatha Elevator District here in the Twin Cities, which I'm modeling. And all that content that he was able to bring to me took a bunch of research that I would have been chasing my tail to be able to attain. And through the podcast, through YouTube, and through the social media world, we're connecting with guys, and he's down in Georgia, and I'm up here in Minnesota.
I know there are so many people that have connected through the podcast. I actually find that extremely humbling. I mean, it's, considering I was just planning on sitting here in my pajamas making smart-ass remarks, it's pretty darn rewarding what we've done here. And the thing of it is, I do the podcast part, but it's everybody connecting with each other that really makes it cool. Like, that's got nothing to do with me. I mean,
you look at how many people there are on the fans page now on Facebook, and how many people have met like-minded individuals because they found the podcast and heard it. And there's all sorts of people out there that you run into at train shows and stuff, listen to the podcast, and they're talking to other people they met on the podcast. It's amazing. It's an amazing, wonderful use of the technology.
Yeah, and Eric Nielsen. How many times I'm going to be doing that? And the worst part is, as I get older and older, that's only going to, we're probably at the best days of the podcast right now. Like, from as the future goes along and I get older and older, the podcast is probably just going to slowly deteriorate into me just mumbling and everybody else correcting me. So everybody should actually take a moment and pause and realize that these are the best moments of the podcast forever and ever.
So, Lionel, I got to ask you a question then. Do you kind of consider yourself the Ozzy Osbourne of podcasting then? And...
yeah, that's right. I'll be the Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah, in 10 years, I'll be like, yeah, so... So, yeah, Neil Erickson yesterday, when I was talking to him, he was telling me about how he went into a McDonald's in Hawaii, and he was wearing his AML shirt, and a guy came up to him and said, "Are you Neil Erickson?" Because I've heard from the AML, and it was some guy that had just moved to the Big Island and was looking for other modelers. So I thought that was just the coolest. I just thought that was the coolest thing.
That is cool.
It is cool. All right, William. So we have sent you part of what we're going to talk about today is the Tom Stock poster logo. Our buddy Tom Jacobs, the founder and creator of Tom Stock, isn't with us today, but he's going to be with us on another one. There'll be many on-air discussions going forward of Tom Stock, so we have this idea for a poster that I think would be really cool, kind of a Woodstock kind of poster, and I sent you an example of it. And Bruce, I sent it to you too.
I see that. It's very nice.
Yeah, only we're thinking...
And coincidentally, I was just watching that documentary on the TV a couple weeks ago.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And how did it go?
It was 3 days of peace, love, and music.
Yeah, only we're going to have 3 days of peace, love, and little trains. Or we're 2 days, I guess. So, I mean, really, it can be almost like this, except instead of the chicken or whatever that is.
That's a dove.
A dove. We can put Fred the Sock.
There you go.
I like it.
Did I send you that one of Fred the Sock? Well, you designed it, so you have them.
Yeah,
he may be familiar with the concept of Fred the Sock.
I have told so many people this story, William, about, is it William or Bill?
I go by either. I mean, it's generally by Facebook has kind of turned me into William just by the fact that when I originally signed up, that's the way it was. And most of my accounts that I sign up with William. But family, friends, they call me Bill. And, like I says, from a communal standpoint, whenever I've met people, it's whatever they start referring to me as. Bill or William is fine.
Okay, so when I become a friend, I'll be able to call you Bill.
Yeah, you're on the fence. You're probably more on. you're at Billiam at this moment.
Yeah, I'm at Billiam. So anyway, so what was I saying? I was going to say something interesting. Bruce.
Got me. We're talking about Fred the Sock.
Oh yeah. I've told people so many times the story of we were struggling to get Fred the Sock drawn. I bet you I asked a dozen different people. And nobody could seem to understand it. So then in desperation, I guess it wasn't long after I'd interviewed Bill and William. Now I'm lost. I wasn't long after I interviewed you. I thought, oh, well, William's a graphic designer. Maybe I can send it to him and impose on him and see what he can do. And literally, Bruce, I gave him a rough description. And literally within about 30 minutes, I had it exactly the way I wanted it.
Life is wonderful.
You are an excellent graphic designer. You must be busy, are you?
I am, and that's where I kind of even felt with a lot of the stuff that's been going on. My workflow hasn't changed. I continue doing what I'm doing, but I do have 3 kids, and since they're not in school at this moment because the schools have been closed, I've become a full-time teacher and a graphic designer, and obviously still a husband and a dad. So you have a lot more on the plate, but I think a balance of it is really kind of come from, for me, a challenge. I like working with the kids. I like being able to, show them. I work with them with drawing and painting and obviously the numbers and letters and stuff. But that type of interaction for me, I'm a visual person, obviously from the graphic design side of things. But from a busyness standpoint, I almost kind of thrive on it. When deadlines start coming up, Tom was actually working on a project with Tom Klomoski, and he says, I'm getting close to the end of getting this thing finished up. Can you get me some of this information I'm looking for? And the next thing you know, I'm hopping in my car, I'm driving down to the Hiawatha Elevated District, and I'm photographing the area to get him some pictures and stuff. So it's fun. I like it. It's definitely keeping me busy. And the graphic design side of things, as far as the creative, much like for Fred the Sock, you brought a concept to the table, and you allow me. Then you said, "Hey, I want to make it look a little bit more." I guess for those that might not visually be able to put this together, when he originally sent kind of the sketch of the idea, the Fred the Sock looked a little erect. He kind of had a bulge,
exactly,
if you will. And we were able to streamline that, clean it up, and get it to look a little bit more refined. And I think the Fred the Sock that everybody has seen is the one that we all love. But I'm glad we were able to, help you get there.
How old were you when you felt like how old were you? Do you remember when you felt like you had a talent that not everybody had?
It started actually at a really young age, and I joke with my parents about this because as a kid, my sister's a great artist as well, but we both kind of thrived on being able to visually put stuff onto paper. And if it wasn't onto paper, again, joking with my dad, we actually put it up on the walls, from the staircase, from the bottom of our steps up to the top level. My sister and I had a mural of a house, a horse, a fence. It was way more of a piece of artwork that shouldn't have probably happened, but from a very young age. I mean, I think at that time we're maybe 5 years old. My sister's a year and a half older, so I'm probably maybe 4. But a recollection standpoint, I remember that didn't go over so well at home, but we always liked drawing, and we always liked that creative element. And as I ascended through high school and even into college, it was just always on the forefront. Every time I participated, whether it was making a poster or doing a drawing, that stuff was coming out that I was enjoying it, and I actually had fun with it. And that's kind of where the graphic design stuff came from.
Well, you're pretty darn good at it, that's for sure. And you must enjoy it now. I mean, and do your kids show any signs of that?
They do. And it's funny because every time people see it, they says, oh, clearly that's the gene from you. I feel like a lot of it comes from even my mom. She gave us crayons and markers at a real young age. And at some point, some people might be like, well, they seem too young to be using crayons or markers. But those things basically became extensions of my hands and fingers, and I'm able to draw like crazy. And these kids, I guess not to toot my own horn, but they're definitely in their class doing work that people are like, wow, that's pretty impressive. And I think a lot of it is just that exposure. They're getting the exposure, much like us as model railroaders. The earlier we start into it and start messing with it, the more you can refine your skills the older you get.
So what exactly was it you were doing for Tom Klomoski?
Well, he's working on a project for putting together something. I guess I'm not going to dive into all the details unless Tom wants to dive into it, but he's putting together a book that has content that will encourage the prototype modeler. I don't know what status or where that will be long term, but that's the project I was working with Tom. And my little piece is talking about the Hiawatha Elevator District here in Minneapolis and how I'm modeling it as close to the prototype as I can, close to 1-to-1, but with obviously that select compression. So my buildings are closer to 1-to-1, but the compression ends up happening because I'm not able to do 5 blocks of Minneapolis in a bedroom.
Okay, so he's probably working on a book for one of the publishing companies then. Or now
that would be my guess.
Yeah, so now I got to go talk to him.
Yes, he's such a great guy. I've had conversations with him on the phone now. Every time I sit down with him, the next thing you know, an hour's gone by. And I think that from a relationship standpoint, among all of us modelers, that exchange of information seems just effortless.
Yeah, and I don't care what anybody says. The social media is going to make this hobby explode. It's going to be just so much more of a community because of the connection that we all are able to have with each other.
Well, just look at the number of guys now who have, Eric Hanselman with his resin car blog, things like that. All the guys who are out there doing stuff. Chris Adams sharing his blog. All these guys documenting what they're doing on the layout and freely sharing it with people. Like back in the day, you would have had to get something in one of the magazines, somebody's layout. That's all you know. And now it's like, here it is. If you got questions, you ask the guy, and away you go. So yeah, it's greatly changed the hobby.
Well, and look, the other day, Bruce, you and I interviewed that David Hyde, and I can't hardly wait now to get into a performance of the Dallas Symphony Orchestra. And you and I would have never met this fellow probably any other way than through the podcast.
Absolutely.
And it's so cool, so cool. All right, so what do you think about this poster? What size should we do? I have a what's the guy's name? Baker Mayfield from the Cleveland Browns. They did a poster that was 11 by 17.
Yes, that's the size. I mean, that's a very standard poster size from a production standpoint. A lot of times the way they look at press sheets is what can they fit on a press sheet, and when they cut it up, maximize the use of space. And that's where 11 by 17 kind of falls into place. Now, in this case, just for the people that are listening, what we're actually looking at is it's a Woodstock poster that is all red. It's got a guitar kind of through the center, drawn kind of like a character or a cartoon with a little bird standing on the neck of the guitar. The typeface on it, it's a little bit more playful. If you kind of think of that Austin Powers, a little bit more of a kind of that lively 60s vibe. That's the feel you get for the lettering. And, I think collectively it's bright and bold. And I think Tom Stock 2020 has got to be bright and bold too, right?
Exactly. And
absolutely.
And could we go up one size from 11-17? Is that doable?
Yeah, it's definitely doable. It would come down to the printers themselves. A lot of times 11 by 17 is an easy size to produce. You can step up to like a 16 by 20, which is a 4 by 5 ratio. So it's a little bit bigger. It's more of kind of your wall art. If you buy a picture at Target or your local big box store, that's going to be a standard size of 16 by 20.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Only because I'd really like to get as many people as I can to sign a copy, and then I'd like to frame it and put it on the wall. And I just thought that would be more fun to look at. 16.
See, in your case, if you're going to hang something up on the wall, I would suggest maybe just doing one for the event. That would be a 24 by 36 or 36 by 48. So it's almost a movie poster size. That would be the larger format.
Yeah.
That gives you a lot of space. You're obviously going to have a lot of color. You're going to have a lot more room for guys to sign it. And then do a one-off, and then if you hang it in your in the studio, that ends up being just kind of a nice homage to Tom Stock.
Yeah. Could I do a 2-off?
Yeah, you could probably do 2, maybe 3.
or you do one for everybody who attends, and everybody signs everybody else's poster.
Do one what?
Do one for everybody who attends.
Yeah.
And then everybody can sign each other's posters.
Well, sure, but then there's some cost involved there.
Yes.
How much would it cost to get a poster of any size done?
Well, it would vary by the weight of the paper. So they weight it just by the pound, and the amount of so the heavier the paper, the less volume or number of pieces you get, in a ream, let's say. So just as an example like this, you'd probably use something that's like an 80 pound or 100 pound, which for people that are wondering the weight, that's going to be the consistency of like a playing card or something that's a little bit thicker. A lot of your cards that you get in the mail, if it's a postcard, are going to be in that 80 to 100 pound weight. Now, if you were doing kind of like you're saying, what Bruce is saying, if you did a stack of them and you do them as a limited run, maybe you do, 50 of them, whatever the number might be, put a price on them and just say, guys want to buy a limited run of these, then you can have them sign it. You can do whatever you want with it at the event. So then you just have a limited edition set that gets produced, and you raise a little bit of funds that can cover the cost of some of the things you guys might be doing at the event. And you've got your large version that might be sitting there for guys to all sign it.
Yeah, okay. We could have 2 sizes. What do you think about that, Bruce?
That's what I was kind of thinking. If somebody wants their own like personal size, we save you another X dollars for you, and
Yeah.
and then they've got a souvenir to take home with them, and you've got the big one for the studio.
How lucky are we to have found William to be the official graphic designer of the AML Network?
Absolutely, yes.
I chewed through a few of them trying to get that sock drawn.
Well, it's definitely
I saw
a happy,
some of those attempts. Yeah.
it's definitely a happy accident because I always look at these scenarios and kind of the different people that we meet as time goes on, and obviously my connection came through Mike the Spoon Ostertag. He came out to the Twin Cities here, and he's at the Modelers Retreat, and I've listened to your guys' podcast prior to that, and he says, I'm Spoon, and to meet him in person, it's a totally different experience. But through him, we actually just to actually shift gears a little bit, we've been doing these live layout tours on Friday nights via Facebook Live, and Mike was kind enough this past Friday. He says, well, I don't really have anything to show. I don't know what I'm going to show on the Farland terminal. And he says, but I think I can come up with something. So he ends up firing up the live feed, and we did 3 different layouts. We ended up covering Luke Lemons out in Green Bay, Wisconsin, Mike Ostertag in Green Bay, and then it was Joel Weeks, is just south of there in Appleton, Wisconsin. And this is a live feed that we're doing. So I go live on it was the Twin Cities Model Rails group on Facebook. I just open up my Facebook account, I hit live, and I start talking about the guys that we're going to have do a tour. And then Luke starts up at 8:00, and then Mike started up at 8:45, and each guy takes a half hour and talks about the railroad and gives you a firsthand experience that here locally, the guys are asking questions and being able to look at these guys' railroads from their armchair or, in the comfort of their couch.
So
yeah, I saw what Mike had done. He's right. He doesn't have a lot, but what he has, he explained it well. And I particularly like his filing cabinet review. That was a real plus. Yeah, giving him a little tweak over that. But he's doing a lot of nice work. And
it's beautiful.
I like what he's doing.
So what is it? Twin Cities. So this is whose idea? So you're behind this then? I thought these 3 guys came up with this idea, which kind of surprised me because it wasn't that much of a brain trust.
No, it was actually kind of an indirect a comment that Tom Gazer, if you've interviewed him in the past.
Yes.
Tom threw out in a conversation. He says, "Hey, would anybody have interest in showing their railroad, on a Friday night?" And a couple people chimed in, and I said, I'd be interested. And so Tom, Dan Linford, and we end up getting together and just saying, hey, let's set up a time frame and let's throw something together. So we do this, and we end up getting 50 guys throughout the night. We maintained about 50 guys that were watching, and we thought, that was kind of cool, somewhat successful, and we'll do it again next week. So that following week, we end up doing it, and we averaged about 50 to 60. And then follow the week, which is just this past week. And we had Mike and those guys in there, and we popped over 100.
Wow.
And we had maintained a steady 100 guys viewing, and I think our peak was around like 120. But it made for an environment, and obviously in our current situation, you can't go out and converse with guys, but to have an opportunity to see other guys' railroads at any stage, like Mike's, his isn't very far along, but he shared a lot of great information about the prototype that he's going to be doing. Hand laying track, obviously talking about S-scale. So him and Ken Ziska, there's a few guys out there that model an S-scale. We're able to kind of enjoy their scale being featured.
All right. So it's called Twin Cities what?
It's Twin Cities Model Rail. That's so it's Model Rails.
Okay.
And that's just in Facebook. You can type in Twin Cities Model Rails, and that's the group. It is a private group, and you can join it, and anybody can join in and participate to be able to watch.
All right, Twin Cities Model Rails, and okay, so you got to join. You got to see if you can get in. How do I get in now? Where do I go? So it says private. Oh, join group. I'm going to see if I can get in. I'm going to ask to join the group. Oh, I'm going to join it as Modeler's Life. How about that? Here we go.
Well, boy, you're going to have a regular a star among us.
No, why? Who's joining? All right, so I sent off my. I hope I get an answer. I'm excited to see if they'll allow the Modeler's Life podcast to be part of it.
Well, Sue the Milwaukee Road is part of it, as well as myself. So I don't know who's running the Sue the Milwaukee Road account, but they're both in that group.
Okay, so how long will it take for me to find out if I'm in?
I think, I believe it's Greg Smith that is the administrator on it. And as soon as he gets a notification, he sees it, he okays it, and you'll be able to get in.
All right. Okay. So I'll have to wait. So So you guys, so it was Tom Gazier that kind of came up with the idea, is it, or?
Yeah, he's the one that started kicking the can down the road, and I just happen to be kicking along the same road as he.
Wow, and you guys have picked up 203 members in the last 30 days.
And I think it's in large part because of kind of what we're doing. And also thanks to you guys and Mike. Again, going back to that network and community, there's so many of us that have these similar interests, and you don't know where you're at in the hobby, but to be able to see other guys and where they're at, I think we're all in a very similar boat. Now that everybody has it all scenic and it's all finished and looks pristine and is fabulous, you're all at different stages.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to ask you a question. Don't tell me. Let me guess. You talk so fast. You're throwing out so much information at it. Bruce, you got to take notes as we're going along here, buddy.
Oh, my pencil broke.
Okay. So when did you start this particular group?
The group itself, that Twin Cities Modelers group, Greg started that some time ago, but we just started doing the actual the live tours 3 weeks ago.
Right.
So this will be our fourth week coming up this Friday. We're just asking guys that if you're interested in being able to hit your live feed button on Facebook, keep the camera as steady as you can, and give us a nice look at your railroad and kind of answer questions as you go along.
That's a great idea. It's go ahead, Bruce.
I was going to say, who's on the menu for Friday night?
So this Friday night, we've got Greg Smith doing the Great Northern in 1969. And then we've got Paul, I remember his last name is Patowski, and he's doing the Great Northern Post. So he's doing the Great Northern Line, but he has his own railroad that he's modeling. And then we're actually having Graham Stockfield out of Australia. So
cool.
Wow.
Yeah, so you've got it. This thing's going globally in terms of reach, but he's modeling the Twin Cities area. So you've got some similarities in terms of what roads might be modeled, but it's a wide open gamut. Any guys, welcome to obviously join in the group as well as share the railroad. It's not a matter of Twin Cities exclusive. It was just a place where Tom says, yeah, maybe we can test it out in there and see if people have interest in this. And as we're kind of showing here, there definitely is.
I can see this will just keep going farther and farther afield. And guys like Tom Klomoski, but I call him Tim because he's a friend of Tim Carlin's. It won't be a show if I don't call Tom Tim at least once. Okay. So then, eventually you'll get guys like Tom Klomoski on. You'll have people from all over the world showing their layouts. It's basically what's going to happen.
You see, and that's what I think is cool because I actually had, I forget his name offhand, if it was Colin, I think it's Colin T. I forget his last name, but I believe he may be one of the gentlemen that's over in Hawaii because he asked me, what time is this broadcast? And I said, it's 8:00 p.m. Central Time. And he goes, oh, I'm not going to be available. I'll be sleeping or I'll be working. And I says, working? Where are you? And he says, I'm in Hawaii. I says, wow. I mean, totally. I had affiliated because Colin actually models the same elevator district that I do, or he has interest in it. And with that interest, he's sitting there, I'd like to see the show. Well, we do upload them, so they are viewable later. And I have put some of them on my YouTube channel. But these guys that you're seeing, you got a guy in Hawaii that wants to watch it. You've got Graham Stockfield. He says, I'd like to show my railroad for him. 8 p.m. here is 11 a.m. there on the day following. So it's actually Saturday morning for Graham.
Okay. Yeah, because it's the next day. Well, but then he'll be able to tell you what the future's like.
That's right. Well, we always, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow, Graham? And he says, well, it's beautiful and sunny, so we have something to look forward to.
Well, just don't ask Martin Jenkins, because all he can tell you is that it's hot. Hey, Bruce, you know what I'm doing?
You're eating Smarties.
I am, exactly. That's very unprofessional on the air. But this is unedited. I just realized as I'm crunching the Smarties.
As you're crunching away, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have to stop doing that.
And now you'll have to explain to our U.S. listeners that Smarties up here are not the same as Smarties in the U.S.
Yes, and Smarties in the U.S. are just a sad ripoff of the real Smarties. Smarties down there don't really exist. We don't know what that is. But I would highly
rockets.
I would highly recommend that you don't put them in your mouth.
Yes, Smarties up here are like M&Ms.
Yeah, don't try to kid yourself that they're Smarties because they're not.
So you're just to clarify before you guys deviate from this, the Smarties in Canada are a chocolate product.
Yes, they're like M&Ms.
Okay, all right. Ours are just these dusty powdered pellets that.
Yes, and those are what we call rockets.
Okay.
I think we got to have William on more often because he has described all they are in the United States is just dusty powdered pellets.
That's about right.
They're sugar though, and you get a good high on them.
Don't be putting dusty powdered pellets in your mouth. You don't know where they've been.
They've been on a little cellophane wrapper in a big bag.
Yeah. Why have you got stock in the Smarties in the States or something?
No. But the beauty of that though is a Smartie never goes bad because there's preservatives or the sugar quality. You can find one under the seat of your car and it'll be eaten later.
Yes, as long as it hasn't gotten damp, you're good to go.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So, all right. So what's happening on your layout?
So on my layout, and I'm going to have to give more props to you guys for the encouragement side of things. You told me to start up the Facebook page, and I end up doing that, and we've got a lot of people joining the Sue the Milwaukee Road page. But I've started plugging away. I got the room done. I've been able to get the actual layout itself in place. I've cut the hole in the wall, and I've slid the section that I had pre-laid all the track and did all the wiring. I built the shelving unit that it was going to sit on, and I've slid it into place. So my track is down. The switches are functioning on what would be considered the east wall. And then the southern wall, I've got a corner section that I've got to lay track on. And the southern wall, the track is down, but I need to power it up by putting, I'm using servos with Tam Valley drivers. So they're what function the servos. But that's the phase that I'm at. I'm kind of refining it. And through communication with Tom, he's kind of gone back and forth. I've asked some questions about some of the track work and what makes sense. What did the prototype do? And he ended up kind of running me down this hill of making sure that your operations make sense when you're looking at it, even visually. Walk through a train and pretend that you're pulling a cut of cars in and what moves you'd make. And I guess real kind of almost artistically, he just penned out how he would operate my railroad simply by looking at the track plan. And as he visually told me how he would make the moves, it was making sense to me. And he says, you know what I think? You need an area that you can make a run around just to be able to make your tailing point, switches to be able to pull a cut of cars back out and then service those other industries. So I made a couple of amendments, but for the most part, it stayed fairly close. But having that even just visual talk through with Tom was a great help.
Sounds like Tom's been a huge help for you.
It's been instrumental. And I kind of joke with him and I tell him too that, it's going to be referred to as the Klomoski suite. That room has a bed that I have a Murphy bed. And I says that anytime he's in the Minnesota area, he's more than welcome to crash here because that room itself has gotten a lot of progress just thanks to the encouragement that Tom provided.
Way to go, Tom. Way to go. So I'm on your page now. And I see you've got these. So it looks like it's very well graphically designed, these announcements for these. Do you have a guy doing that?
No, that's me, of course. Of course. That guy doesn't get paid well, though.
That's really cool what you've done here. And you make it look like the Three Stooges, and it's the three layouts. That's very, very cool.
Well, I'm glad I successfully pulled off the Three Stooges thing too, because that was the reference, and it's definitely clear if you're able to see it right out of the gates.
And there's Ken Zieska. I got to get him on the podcast. I've been actually thinking about I should get him on the podcast because he's an S-scaler.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and he's got a beautiful layout, does he not?
Yeah, he actually was one of the guys we had on the tour 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And he walked through his railroad, and we had the opportunity to visit it after he puts on what's called the Twin Cities Modelers Retreat. And anybody that's even remotely within the Twin Cities area, it's in the, let me think, it's in May? No, it's in March. He does it in March, and the quality of individuals that you come across, Ken does a wonderful job putting together a number of different speakers and presenters. But he brought us over to his railroad afterwards so you can see it firsthand. And even watching in the video, you don't get the scale and just the modeling and some of the stuff that's in the actual railroad itself. But it's very cool, and he's such a nice guy.
Yeah. So, Ken, we're coming for you, buddy. Be prepared. We're going to get you on the podcast. So if you go to your page, and I'm assuming it's the same on the Twin Cities page, you go to that post about that live event, and you just click on the YouTube, and it takes you right to YouTube. And there's whatever it was you guys did via live video is right there on YouTube for you to look. So there's no need for anybody to miss anything.
No, and that's what there were the guys that were asking. They says, well, we don't have Facebook. We don't log in, and do anything on the Facebook at all. So I said, well, I'll take videos that I have the access to and I'll upload them to my YouTube channel just so other guys can see it. And surprisingly, you look at the number of views that are coming in just through that avenue. There's a bunch of people that just normally wouldn't see it. And they just happen to be, in my subscription or looking at my channel. But I think my dad's railroad's on there. He's around, I think there's 420 views. But we did a little, what was it? The Gilligan's Island theme that we threw in as the intro.
So these ones that we're watching on YouTube, are these the actual Facebook videos, or these are just videos you've done yourself?
Nope, those are the actual videos. So Tom Gazer, he did the video with Ken and Joe Binish. He went over to their place and he did the video work, so it was on his phone. He saved it, and then he uploaded it to me on Google Drive. I downloaded it and then put it up I put the intro and outro on it and then uploaded it to YouTube.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's gorgeous. Way to go.
Yeah, it's just kind of it's a fun way to be able to share again, S-Scale, as Ken kind of joked, he says, the one beauty about S-Scale is that there's only a handful of guys that do it. So if everybody decided to jump on to S-Scale, it maybe not be as, as niche or as a small confined little group, but he did such a nice job on the tour, and to be able to share it this way is phenomenal.
These are great videos. You guys have done an awesome job. Awesome job, you guys. Way to go. Hats off to you guys for coming up with this idea. I'm sure other people have done it, but it's like, it's very well done. Hats off to you guys. Go get them. Go get them. And there's there's an S-Scaler in our group, Scott Lister, and he lives in the Carolinas. And at first he said he wasn't. I met him at Springfield, and he said he said I can't interview him because of his accent or his southern drawl or whatever you'd call it, and his Carolina accent. And I've decided that regardless of that, because this guy is a spectacular modeler, like just absolutely gorgeous. You guys should track him down.
Well, I highly encourage him doing the interview with the accent in general. You guys obviously have your accent. I've got an accent as well. I know Spoon has his, and you can hear it depending on where you are in the country. Anybody that's listening down the South Carolina area, they're not going to think he has an accent.
I have an accent?
No, not at all.
I'm eating another Smartie.
Are you?
On the unedited version. I get
Anybody that does want to see an S-Scale model railroad, Ken Ziska's it's Zieska, and you can search YouTube, just type in Ziska. There's not going to be that many other Ziskas out there. You'll be able to see his railroad and maybe enjoy yourself some S-Scale.
So what's the overall size of your layout again?
So my layout, the extension that I'm working on is a 10 by 12. That's the size of the room.
Right.
The other room, there's a bigger room that I have that will be the main railroad, and that is 15. That's 15 by 20. Then there's a little side area where my staging is, and that is about 5 foot by 13. So I've got 3 different areas where stuff will reside. But currently I'm working on what's referred to as the Hiawatha Elevator District, and that's in that 10 by 12 room.
And how many elevators are in the Hiawatha Elevator District?
So I'm modeling 4 of them, and technically there's about 6 or 7, but I'm going to do 4 of them, and I'm doing essentially 35th Street down to about 38th Street. So I'm really only doing about 3 blocks, and that's because that's where kind of the main core of the elevators are. And the only real, modification that I ended up making is I flip-flopped 2 blocks because there's the Hiawatha lumber. I wanted to integrate that, but if you look at the corner section of a room, there's always that tough spot to fill. So where the curve comes through in the very corner of the room, I'm using that open kind of dead space in the back corner for what will be a lumber facility or a lumber yard.
Okay, that's cool. So, and then you're going to move on to the next room and move on to the next room.
Uh-oh, did we lose you?
I don't think. Oh, no, you know what?
There he is.
I was on mute.
There he is.
I thought.
You know why?
I heard a click and I was going, "Oh, I lost everybody." And no,
and you know why I was on mute, Bruce?
You're crunching another Smartie?
I was crunching Smarties.
But the beauty of that is you're going to have played a prank on everybody listening. They're all going to check their phone. They're all going to look and see, did this thing drop out?
Okay, well, I think we've... what else do we need to talk about today? What else subject should we cover?
Well, the one thing I would say, just from a coverage standpoint, has got to be just collectively among all of us modelers, is it ends up just being kind of the encouragement to guys that are considering starting. I was one that I didn't start for a long period of time. I've collected a lot of rolling stock and locomotives. If you're even thinking about doing a railroad, do a 2x4 little diorama. Do a little stretch of track that you can model an area and run a locomotive back and forth. Because I highly encourage any guy that's even just waffling or thinking about it. I was an armchair modeler for about 8 years. And reluctantly, I had my dad's railroad that I had the opportunity to go and work and run trains, obviously at his place. But if you're thinking about it, just get out there and do it.
Good advice. Well, and that's like our buddy, and we were talking, and I was just going to say your layout's going to be in 3 different areas, and Chris Adams, his layout's kind of in 3 different rooms sort of thing. And another excellent modeler. Chris Adams is just, we were given, we were doing fans number 17 last night, Bruce.
Yes.
And we were giving Chris Adams a hard time because he's always angst about his scenery, and yet his scenery is absolutely beautiful. So you're right, William. Yes. People should just, even if they built themselves a 2-foot by 6-foot module layout or shelf layout, just to try it, because once you do it, you're off to the races.
Well, it also brings it, I think, from an entertainment standpoint. I've learned a lot from the detail modeling from Bob Rivard. He's a local modeler here in the Twin Cities. He does the Sioux Line, and the details that he puts into his locomotives is right down to the year that he's modeling. So you can take it right down to that specific level of modeling, or you can be a little bit more of either a freelance modeler, kind of like Mike has been doing Ostertag on his Fairland terminal. But the opportunity to actually kind of see stuff move. Another thing I thought was interesting, just to kind of bring up any of you guys that are even kind of considering using the proto throttles. I know some people are a little hesitant on it. Tom Klomoski, if you watch his videos on YouTube, you can just see that more prototypical slower speed. So you don't need that big, huge railroad to run all your trains across. You can use something smaller, just a little switching scenario, and it can take a little while if you kind of follow along with some of the protocol that the prototype would be using.
Yes, I was on
exactly,
mute.
Yeah.
No, thanks, Bruce. I was on mute again. The problem is,
that's a good point. Just even get on the look at the Carl Arndt's micro layout site. Find something there and build something and play around with it and have some fun.
Well, Bruce, let me ask you: do you do a lot of buildings out of paper? I think you've kind of alluded to that in the past. Is that a modeling technique you use a lot?
I have been playing with a bunch of those lately just for fun.
Okay.
Because it's a strange, because ever since the incident in my house last September where we had a fire, I've been a little out of modeling kits, and so I've got a few things here and there. But the cardboard stuff, particularly if you go to Cluddles, their site, they've got freebies you can download and try. But it's they're great looking kits. They can be a challenge to build, but the beauty, if you screw something up, you just print a new part and go again. But as far as a background building, I have been at meets and seen these things where, unless you were right on top of it, you would not know that's a printed structure and not built up out of strip wood or styrene, something like that. So.
But even in that background application, they're layering the photos, correct?
Oh, they're a lot of them. They have that you layer up the structure. There'll be a wall, and then you might have battens to put on it, things like that, or separate window frames and doors. But it all comes out that it's for to look at it from a distance, even not that close. Up close, they're good looking structures, and that's something too. If anybody's looking for something to do in this time, and they go to Clever Models and click on their freebies page, and they have several you can download and try. And it's you print them on 80-pound or 100-pound stock, and they can be a lot of fun to build, and they turn out to decent kits.
What was the name of it again?
Clevermodels.com.
Okay, clevermodels.com. All right, cool.
Yeah.
And I was going to, I have, you've just given me an idea, William. So one of our up-and-coming rising stars on the old AML network is going to be a fellow named George Taylor, who is a young guy. We are always encouraging the young guys, 27 years old. He doesn't have a lot of space. Bruce, correct me if I'm wrong. Would he not be the perfect guy to build like a 2-foot or 1.5 by 4-foot layout?
Absolutely. He could start off with a 2 by 4 foot module. You look at it, Model Railroad Hobby. It's the one module approach. look how he's done that. You start off and build a module, 2x4, 2x6, whatever, and that gives you something to work on. You can do your bench work, you can do your track work, your scenery, your everything, and it gives you something to do, and gives you the experience and confidence to go on.
And the other thing too, like you made the very perfect point, William, with today's electronics and like the proto throttle. You have a small 2 foot by or 1.5 or 1 foot by 4 foot in HO. You have a small module like that, but with the proto throttle and everything that locomotives can do and realistic operation, you can have a lot of fun in a very small space.
See, that's absolutely true. I find that even with the proto throttle, it slows down the operation. And Tom was great about explaining that his space that Tom Klomoski's railroad is in is essentially just a bedroom. So he's in a small enough space that it doesn't look like it's a huge railroad, but when you look at the videos that he even posts, it seems like he's traversing a long stretch of track, but in reality, you've slowed it down enough. I think he says he works around like 12 scale miles an hour is roughly the speed of his locomotives. So you're not zipping from point A to point B at a rapid pace.
Yeah, you guys have hit a home run with this layout tour thing, weekly layout tour thing. Man, you guys, and you got ton. And I highly recommend that everybody go to Sue the Milwaukee Road on YouTube, because there's a ton of great videos. And because you have an artistic bent and are attuned to details, you're going to build an absolute beautiful layout.
Well, I'm looking forward to doing so, and I am logging and documenting all the stuff that I've been working on my YouTube channel. And that information that I end up logging in there is just for other modelers. I don't need to put the videos together, for my own sake. I'd end up putting them together so guys can at least get some encouragement, get some ideas. They're not always the right solution or the absolute, must-do solution, but you have the opportunity to be able to see what a guy is doing, how I'm going through the process. And with the start of the Hiawatha Elevator District, I've been documenting. I got a lot of video already recorded about the bench work that I'm using, the way I'm assembling it, the electrical work that I'm putting in, and just lightly touching on a lot of times how easy it can be to get yourself kind of up and running and have yourself the opportunity to start switching and pull some cars out and be able to enjoy a little model railroading.
Yeah. And I was going to say something else really good. Now, don't tell me what was it. Anyways, I think you're a great, I think you guys out there in Minneapolis are a great asset to the hobby. So,
well, I'm definitely thankful for the community that has developed out here in the Twin Cities area, but even in extension, the AML Nation. I mean, those guys have all been fun to engage with. Talking with different people, listening to different interviews. I know you had Adam Pinellas on, and when he was kind of talking about just different tangents, different things that he's experiencing, and you guys were talking about bidets, and you're off on tangents that I was laughing about. That I think a lot of times, from a human standpoint, we all have a lot of different things that we're interested in. And I think that was on the AML page that he actually shared his Mustangs that he's been working on. So he's got other hobbies that he's involved with as well, which I myself, I fly model airplanes. I do slot cars. I've got other stuff that I like doing outside of the model railroad world. But to see other guys and the things that they're doing, we all might have the similarity of the model railroading, but you've got these different tangents. I never even knew that he was, diving into a full rebuild on the cars of that magnitude. Once he showed a video, I think it was on a Modeler's Life fans page. You just thought it's just cool to see some of the human side, I guess, of a lot of fellow modelers.
Yeah, I don't like Adam that much because he's too friggin' talented. I mean, this guy can do anything. So he's kind of just starting to annoy me. I love you, Adam. You know that, buddy. I got one more question. Let me see what you think of this idea. When I was in Disney World and they were doing the hey, it's Disney World. I just won the Super Bowl and I'm going to Disney World. So I went to see Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he was wearing this really cool T-shirt. I'm going to see if I can find it. Anyways, it was just said Kansas Chiefs on it, and I thought, I'm going to send you this, and I'm going to put AML Nation. And then under that, I have a little personal saying on my own personal Facebook page that's live like it matters. And I'm thinking we should make a T-shirt like that.
I like it.
Yeah. All right.
It's simple and sweet.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay, we're pretty much this is if we're going to keep this as it was happening, we got to stop now, or otherwise it gets out of hand.
No, that sounds good.
All right, Bruce, give out our email address, please, and thank you.
our email address if you want to contact us and let us know what you think and how we're helping you in these times. Modeler's Life, Modelers with one L, modelerslife@gmail.com.
And we have a website, amodelerslife.com. If you go there, you're going to see everything there is to see about the AML Nation. And there's a Patreon link. You can go there. And, when this is all over, we'll be back to 2 a week. So although we might have some of these left over, we can throw on Patreon. And it will be over. And are you Bill? I'm going to call you Bill for this one.
You got it.
Can you handle the end?
Well, I can handle the end, but just before I do want to make one proclamation when you mentioned Patreon, and I'm going to be standing behind the artwork of what I'm about to tell you. Anybody that has not joined Patreon, if we get the number up to 200, I'm going to give you the choice of either a 187 scale custom painted C10 truck, a 36-foot Green Bay and Western gondola, or a Milwaukee Road 50-foot KD custom painted car. As soon as we hit that number of the 200 individuals that are within the Patreon group, if Lionel throws out a name or number out of that list of individuals, I will personally let you select one of those 3 items for us being able to acquire that 200 mark. So whenever it might be, I'm going to stand behind what I say, but I'm going to offer up some custom painted work for an individual if we reach that 200 mark on the Patreon page.
Not if, when.
Beautiful.
When. And,
you got it. When. That's right.
And that's very nice. I very, very much appreciate that. Very much appreciate that. And I know it'll be beautiful work, so you can't go wrong with that.
And in addition, I'm going to take the other 2 items that don't get selected, though. They are going to get sold. I'll either sell them on eBay or I'll sell them directly. But the money that is raised off of those 2 items that are sold are going to go towards any charity that Lionel selects.
There you go. Well, thank you very much. I think I know.
Absolutely.
I think I know one.
I think you might know one. Yeah.
Okay. Now, are you ready?
Are we closing with happy rails to you?
You'll find out.
Yeah. Well, be surprised.
Just be ready.
All right.
So remember, a Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10
rectal thermometers.
Now, there's a first.
I don't think that works because those don't have a personality and they can't talk.
They don't have a voice.
Well, they certainly get you to talk when you.
Well, yeah, they get you to make sounds, but I think it has to be
I'll make it railroad related.
No, you don't have to. It can be anything. It's got to be somebody who can act. It's got to be something actually not. It's got to be a person.
All right.
We've got to try again, Bruce.
Take 2.
This Patreon guy is nothing but a pain in the butt.
It's like a rectal thermometer.
Yeah, just like a rectal thermometer. Exactly. So remember, a Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10
one-legged unicyclists.
Transportation for AML guests provided by Diamond Limousine. Diamond Limousine, where all of our vehicles are true diamonds in the rough.
It's another Lincoln Homer.